Om Shanti. Let's sit in silence for some time first. Keep your body calm and still. And become aware that I, the soul, am sitting in the Karam Kshetra right now. This world is a Karam Kshetra, field of action. Karam Kshetra is Kurukshetra, the field of war. Look at yourself constantly battling on the inside. There are 5 virtues and 100 vices, constantly battling with each other. Right in the middle of this war, God is giving me the knowledge of how to win the war. He has also started becoming a part of my inner voice. Now I experience there is a war and there is a guidance too. God Himself has become my teacher. I had never imagined, neither in thought nor in dreams, that I would be the one who God Himself would teach. I am amazed at this extraordinary moment. I prayed to God, but don't know if I believed He would come and rescue me. Just take notice of this extraordinary moment where God Himself, the Supreme Soul, the ocean of knowledge, has become my teacher. Just sit with these thoughts for a few seconds. Om Shanti. So you see that we used to hear that the knowledge of Gita was delivered on the battlefield while the war was going on, and it looked very impossible that how could somebody give knowledge in the middle of a war. So it's not practically possible that two people are having a conversation physically in the middle of a war. But this is how it is taking place. There is a constant war. We are in the war, the internal war that is always going on. And now Baba, Shiv Baba, is talking to us constantly in the middle of that war and guiding us. And what is the main thing he is telling us? Nashto Moha Smriti Labdha, which is the aim of Gita, which is you conquer all attachments and regain pure consciousness. So align with your true consciousness and win over all attachments. So let's understand what attachment is. So I told you there are 5 vices primarily: lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed. So these are the 5 vices. Now if you look at them closely, what is lust? Lust is attachment to somebody's physical form. First, it is attachment to your own physical form, and then it is attachment to another person's physical form. That is lust. So lust is a form of attachment. What is ego? Ego is attachment to your own acquired self. So you are a soul, that is the self. And then there is an acquired self, the beauty, the qualification, the talent, the education, everything, the post position, the property, the name, fame, that is your acquired self. Whatever you acquire and think this is me. So when you get attached to it, that is called ego. And then there is greed. So attachment to things is called greed. And when we say attachment per se, so moho, so that refers to attachment to those souls who we think we have a relationship with. So attachment to parents, siblings, children, all of this falls under moho. So basically all these vices are different forms of attachment. And when do we experience anger? When the object of our attachment is being taken away from us, or it is attacked. So, if the object of our attachment is attacked, then we experience anger. So basically, we are all day we are getting attached to something or the other, and that is the root cause of sorrow or anger. So I gave you that cycle of sadness, anger, and fear. So there is, first you get attached, and then you think you own it, and then when you lose it because you're bound to lose it, then you feel sad, and when you can't handle sadness, you blame and you get angry, and then you feel fearful for losing it again. So this is how it is all going, and these are the vices. So Baba says you have to conquer attachment. You have to operate with bodies, operate with things, operate in relationships, operate in this world where you will acquire a self that is based on the external identity, but do not get attached to it. That is, your feelings, your inner state should not depend on these things. So, all these things will be there, and there is nothing wrong or bad or anything. Rather, if you have come to this earth, you will acquire, you will obtain. All of that is karma. So you will express whatever is contained inside you, and then as a byproduct you will achieve and acquire. That is, it is out of question that you won't achieve or won't acquire or won't have relationships. But Baba says no, that all this is transient and you have to stay unattached to it. So, and remain in pure consciousness that you came alone, you will go alone, you only belong to the one that is God, and that one is your eternal companion, the one who nourishes you, sustains you eternally. So once you move into life, move through life with this consciousness of who I truly am and who I truly belong to, and then you operate with everything, then it is not a problem. Now, I will tell you something very, very easy and very nice that Baba teaches us, that is indirect karma. So, Baba teaches us that you engage with your body, you engage with other souls, you engage with matter, you do your work, but keep Baba in between. So don't engage with anything and anyone directly. So you see, while I am giving you this class, I keep Baba in between. And how do I keep Baba in between? I tell myself, these are Baba's children, I am Baba's child, and I am giving this class on his direction. Okay, so although the recipient is a soul, but I am not doing it for the soul. I am not doing it because the soul needs it. I am doing it because this is God's direction. So when I am doing it because this is God's direction, so I am free from how you reciprocate to this class. So you may like it, you may love it, you may not like it, and then it doesn't affect me, because that whatever you do has a consequence upon your relationship with God. It has got nothing to do with me. And tomorrow, if you decide to cooperate in any manner, for example, you decide to support the whole institution by way of helping in any manner, maybe financially or physically or in any way, then you are not giving that to me, you are giving that to God. So whatever return you get will be from him, not from me. So I am doing it for him, you are doing it for him. And so we are both having a karmic account with God, not with each other. And when if I create a thought that I am doing it for you, then I will have an expectation that you need to reciprocate it to me, or I will feel very foolish that I am giving a class and there is no reciprocation. Okay, so sometimes people say that if we do selfless karma, then you are thought of as a fool. So people will say, generally people say that, you see, if nobody is smiling at you, and then you keep smiling at everybody, and then you keep wishing everybody, and you are always helping people, then people think you are foolish. So the thing is, you don't have to do it for people, and you don't have to care about how they take it, because you are doing it because that is God's direction. God has told me you are a happy soul, you are a child of the ocean of happiness. So definitely you have to be happy. So you are happy because that is God's direction. That has got nothing to do with how the other soul takes it. So this is how we become, we operate with pure consciousness, and we keep Baba in between always. So Baba is Shiv Baba, always Shiv Baba. Okay, Brahma Baba is also an instrument and a student like you and me. So Brahma Baba also, so you and I are also instruments and students. So Baba says Brahma and Brahmans are similar. So we are the mouth-born creation of Shiv Baba through Brahma Baba. So Brahma Baba is also studying along with us. So Brahma Baba is also a student and an instrument, and Baba is teaching us to be like Brahma Baba and remember Shiv Baba, listen to Shiv Baba, and be like Brahma Baba. So what is Brahma Baba's best quality? He is the best student, he is learning the best, and he is also serving while learning. So he is learning and sharing whatever he is learning, and making the provision for whatever whatever he has to share. So let me tell you, I will send you a video on Sunday about how this whole yagya, so we call this a yagya, not an organization or an institution. So how this whole yagya called the Brahma Kumaris was established, and how everything unfolded gradually. I will give you a video which will show that. But let me tell you for now that Brahma Baba was a jeweler. So his name was Lokik name. So you see, after he came to, after Baba descended into his body, Baba named him Brahma Baba. But earlier his Lokik name was Dada Lekhraj. And Dada Lekhraj was a very wealthy jeweler. And when Baba inspired him to take on this task of world transformation, and he said that I will give the knowledge, but you have to do the karma. So then Dada Lekhraj, or Brahma Baba, he surrendered all his wealth. And it is through his wealth and his effort that the seva in the beginning started happening, and then slowly, gradually, all these brothers and sisters who we call Brahmins. So now you may belong to any caste by birth, but you are a Brahmin because now you are the mouth-born creation of Brahma. So Shiv Baba has given you birth through the mouth of Brahma. So you are the Brahma Kumar or the Brahma Kumari, the Brahmin. So Baba says, then slowly, gradually, the Brahma, you see in the pictures in scriptures, Brahma is shown to have 1,000 hands. So who are those hands of Brahma? So we become the hands of Brahma, or we become the Brahmins who, along with Brahma, do this task of world transformation on the directions of Shiv Baba. So Baba says that now you also have to follow Brahma in action and remember Shiv Baba and listen to Shiv Baba in terms of ideas. Okay. So, can you send the video you showed yesterday? Okay, so I will send you the link. Okay, so this is about. I sent you a picture yesterday, today in the morning, about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar, and I have told you that you need to know 6 things about God. So the name is Shiv Baba. Form, you have understood that it is a point of light. Then the address is the soul world. Then the qualifications or the qualities are he is an ocean of knowledge, purity, peace, love, power, etc., etc. And then what is the occupation of God? What does God do? And what is my relationship with God? So I gave you a hint about the relationship in the meditation, that He becomes our teacher. So you have heard praises about God, that God is my father, teacher, guide, and mother, sister, everything. So God actually practically carries out all the relationships with us, and we will talk about all of them in a later class. Today I will talk about what God does. So God creates Satyug through Brahma and Brahmins, and sustains Satyug, which is Palna, through Vishnu. And there is the Vinash of Kaliyug through Shankar. Now you have been introduced to Brahma Baba, and now you know you are the Brahmin who will participate with Brahma in this task of world transformation. Now, what is Vishnu? Now you see, Vishnu is shown to have 4 hands. Now imagine that somebody is born with 4 hands. So it will be so inconvenient. So imagine there is somebody you know and they have a child, and that child has 4 hands. So you won't call that child Vishnu. That will be very inconvenient if somebody has 4 hands. So we always create these pictures of deities having 4 hands, 8 hands. So these hands are not physical, they are symbolic. So what is the symbol behind the 4 hands of Sri Vishnu? So Vishnu is not one person. Vishnu is the combination of Sri Lakshmi and Sri Narayan. So the 2 hands belong to Sri Lakshmi and 2 hands belong to Sri Narayan. And Vishnu is a symbolic representation of female and male synergy in Satyug. So in the golden age, in the world we are creating, the male and female bodies, the souls in male and female bodies will work in synergy, and that is represented by a person with 4 hands. And that synergy is the synergy between Sri Lakshmi and Sri Narayan. And when we say Sri Lakshmi and Sri Narayan, they are the king and queen in Satyug. And who are you and me in Satyug? We are also the deities in Satyug. So you see, we will all transform into our pure state, our original state, and our original state is that of a Devta. And when we are there in the original state, then the number one, who is right now the number one in the task of creation, will also become the number one in the task of sustenance. So that is Brahma Baba will become Sri Narayan, and I will introduce you to Mama, and Mama will be Sri Lakshmi, and we children will also be part of the deity clan in accordance with the effort we make right now. Now, you must understand one law today. The law is the one who creates sustains. So, whoever creates has to sustain. So, if I am becoming the instrument for creating you right now, I have to sustain you. So I cannot stop giving you a class after 21 days and say that even if you want to continue, I have only this much of time. No. If I have sown the seed, I have to sustain. I have to be available and then keep calling out to you that you keep continuing. So when a parent gives birth to a child, do you need to have a law that the parent needs to take care of the child? No. One who creates has to sustain. This is the law. So when the parents have created the physical form, they have to take care of the physical form. And if they do not take care of it, they will be held accountable. So similarly, you cannot go and sustain Satyug or participate in Satyug if you don't participate in the process of creation. So you don't have a right to Satyug if you don't participate in the creation. So when you create Satyug right now, you sustain Satyug. So Satyug is created by Brahmins who then become deities and sustain it. And the number one Brahmin is Brahma Baba and Mama. Mama, I will introduce to you. So they are the two main ones, and they will be the main ones sustaining it in the form of Sri Lakshmi and Narayan. And we will also be there with him, the way we would be with him now. So if you develop a very good relationship with Baba in this task of creation, you will come very close in the dynasty also. So Baba says that that is Vishnu, and Vishnu is shown four alankars or four adornments, and that is the Shank, which is the conch shell. Then there is the chakra or the Swadershan chakra, and then there is the Gada or the mace, and then there is the Padma or the lotus flower. So these are the four symbols that are shown in the picture of Vishnu. And Baba says these four things are symbolic, and uh, you have to imbibe these four things right now, so that you are shown these adornments in your full picture. So Vishnu is the picture of our complete form, but the complete form arises out of these four adornments. So right now we have to imbibe these four things. What are these four things? So first is the Shank. The Shank stands for Gyan Dhvani. So the sound of knowledge. So you always have to speak knowledgefully from now. What is speaking knowledgefully? So you see, the first thing that knowledge tells you is you are responsible for your destiny, and whatever is happening to you is because of your karma. So you take responsibility of your action. And the second thing that knowledge tells you is you take responsibility to develop yourself spiritually enough by learning and connecting with Baba, so that you become powerful and knowledgeful, and you are able to transform your karma the way Baba tells you. So this is pure knowledge. And you see, there are so many people in your friend circle and in your family who keep calling you and sharing their problems with you. What do? Do you support them in their blame culture, or do you feel sorry about their sorrow, or do you endorse their fears, or do you tell them how to deal with them? So, do you tell them that you have to take responsibility and attend the course, and you have to take up the spiritual practice yourself and empower yourself? You can't complain about the weather if you are not wearing your sweater. So, this is something that you need to bring to the world. And I will tell you one thing. So, there was this brother, and he told me, he asked me a very nice question. He said, Didi, um, there is something that one should hear, and there is something that one wants to hear. So when somebody comes to me, they want to hear something, but they should hear something else, which is according to knowledge. So, what should I tell somebody? That which they should hear or that which they want to hear? So I said, they should hear what they should hear, but in a manner that they would like to hear it. So, whenever you are giving knowledge, so you see the shank or the conch shell has a very unique sound. So, the sound is sweet and piercing also. So, knowledge is very effective. It kind of, rattles you, but then it is very sweet as well, because it has to be given with a lot of good wishes and good feelings. So when you have this good wishes, a heart full of love for anybody, and then you are giving this knowledge, then you are like making the shank dhwani from your own mouth. And then there is this Swadershan Chakra. So the Swadershan Chakra means always keep looking at yourself. So the opposite of Swadershan Chakra is Pardarshan Chakra. So right now it is all about what are they doing, what are they thinking, what is happening outside, and what is going on in the world. That is Pardarshan. You are looking at the other. But Baba says no. Don't think about what the others are doing. Think about how you are thinking about what others are doing. Think about how you are responding to how others are behaving. Because your response will create your destiny, not what is happening outside will create your destiny. So always stay focused on what am I thinking, what am I doing, because whatever I am thinking is becoming part of my feeling, attitude, behavior, habit, personality, relationships, and destiny, the way I told you. So you must always keep your focus on how I am responding, what am I thinking, what am I feeling in this situation. Okay, and change that. Then the third one is the mace or the gada. So the mace is the power to say no. So now that you are learning how to distinguish between good and bad, right and wrong, so you must have the power to say no. So somebody is dumping you with stuff that is messing up with your thought process. You should have the power to say no. So you don't allow anybody to dump their garbage of their mind onto you, or you don't allow anybody to mess up with your morning schedule, because morning shows the day. So have you started waking up at 4? How many of you started waking up at 4? Did anybody do that? Okay, one. Okay, so you must start doing that. I will tell you one thing. So there was this sister, and she told me once that, Didi, today I woke up at 4 and I meditated. And then for 4 to 5 days, she kept telling me, Didi, I can't wake up at 4. It is so difficult and it is impossible, next to impossible. So then I said, how did you wake up at 4 the other day, and every other day you keep telling me it is impossible? So she told me, no, no, Didi, you don't understand. That day there was a special provision made by God. So I said, what was the provision? So she said, you see, we have water supply generally at 6 in the morning, but that day the water supply was released at 3:30 in the morning. So I had to fill the tank. So I had to switch on the motor and wait until the tank gets filled. So I thought, okay, this is a godsend. So I switched on the motor and then I waited, and in that time I meditated, and then I switched off the motor and I slept. So you see, Didi, if there is no water in the tank, then we can't go on about the day. So this is why I had to pay attention. So I said, you understand that if the overhead tank is not full, then you can't have water all day. But don't you understand, if you, the soul, are not full, then you don't have virtues all day. You don't have power all day. How do you operate? So you should be interested in this water supply also, which takes place at 4 a.m. every day. So then she said, yes, Didi, you see, we are also material conscious, that if I have to catch a flight or if I have to switch on the motor, I will get up. But I don't get up because I don't understand the importance of nourishing myself in the morning. So you must understand that that is the time you have to fill yourself with the love, the power, the strength from God, so that you can operate with that power all through the day. So Baba says that if you pay attention to this discipline, and then there is a situation where somebody is there at home, and then because of them you have to sit up late, and then you have to sleep late, then you should have the power to say no. And then you see the mace is you know झुकी हुई, so it's bent, not standing upright. Why? Because you have to say no always with humility. So you have to take care of not spoiling the relationship, and also take care to honor your boundaries. So Baba is giving us maryadas, which are spiritual boundaries, and you must know how to take care of your spiritual boundaries while not humiliating anybody or not rubbing anybody the wrong way. So that is how you hold the mace and keep it always bent so that nobody gets hurt. So people should know that you have your own boundaries, you have your own disciplines, and they don't pester you if you honor your disciplines, but you also keep that relationship going in a beautiful way. So this is the symbol of the Gada. And then there is the lotus flower. So there is a very good comment here. I did it only once, the Amrit Vela, and the day was beautiful. So you know from experience that when you listen to what God says, you are always in a profit situation. Okay. Then there is the lotus flower. So the lotus flower stands for purity, and you have to stay pure while living in this world of purity. So, in Satyug, in the golden age, there is no lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed. So you live in this world full of lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed. But you have to stop yourself from getting triggered by it. So, do you know that vices trigger vices? So when you are so let's say you are watching a scene on television which involves lustful activity. And then when you are watching that scene, then your own sanskar of lust gets activated. So that is why Baba says you are living in a world where there is a constant vibration of lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed. So when you are in this environment, you have to take very good care of not inciting your own vices, not allowing your vices to get triggered in the face of other people's vices. So you see, you are with a person who is getting angry, and then what usually happens is his anger becomes your anger. So, what you have to do is you have to sit like a lotus flower. That is, you have to fill yourself with so much of purity and love and peace every day that while operating in this world, while living with vicious people, in vicious environments, amidst vicious vibrations, you stay above them. So, even if somebody is getting angry, you don't get angry. So, I will tell you one incident. And I was in office one day, and then my boss was very angry, and then because he was getting very angry, and I, because we have practiced so much that we don't get angry when somebody is angry, we get compassionate when somebody is angry, because I understand that they are spoiling their health by getting angry. So then, when he was getting very furious, I offered him a glass of water. I said, "You can shout at me later. Why don't you have some water? Your BP is rising." So he just laughed and he told me, "Now you are concerned about my BP." So I said, "Yes, because you see, you can scold me in many other ways, but you don't have to damage your health for me. It is not worth it." So, and anyways, I don't know if you can mend somebody by shouting at them. So you don't take so much of trouble. You can do something else. You can take stricter actions. So you see, these are the things. So if you work on yourself, you can be with an angry person and be compassionate, or you can be with a greedy person and teach them simplicity instead. So rather than getting triggered by their greed. So when you see somebody greedy, and when you see somebody pompous and showy, that triggers your ego or your greed. So instead of that, why don't you teach them simplicity? So yeah, there was this one brother, and he once told me, so he said, "I have a problem with BK. So why don't you people dress properly?" So I said, "How proper do you want it to be? It is very proper." So he said, "No, no, like you see these sadhus and sannyasis these days, they put on these gaudy clothes and all designer clothes. So why do you people wear these very simple sari and simple attire, and why is it all white? You can wear colorful and gaudy clothes. It puts on a very good impression, and then people will like to take you seriously, and they would like to see that you are also aware of so many other things, and they would think that you can give them better guidance about how to look good in society also, and this and that." So I said, "Okay, so you want me to wear gaudy clothes and then talk about simplicity?" So he said, so I said, "No, see, I think that if you are telling something, you should first embrace it yourself." So I have seen people wearing very fashionable clothes and talking about simplicity, but that's not how it works. So then he said, "No, I think you are right." And the next time that brother visited me, he wore a very plain white dress. So instead of getting sucked into other people's drama, why don't you show them the path by sticking to your purity, your simplicity? So Baba says, be like that lotus flower, full of virtues, full of beauty within. And then when anybody is trying to maneuver you into their ways, they will learn from you rather than influence you. So this is something. So there are questions. Let me take that up. When we sit still for a long time, the legs start becoming numb. What are we supposed to do then? Then you can stretch your legs. That's not a problem. So keep your state of mind intact, and you can shift the position of your legs once or twice. That's not a big issue. It's not about how you keep your legs per se. So if you find it difficult, it is like, for example, I stretch my legs once if I find it inconvenient, and that's not a problem. Okay. I woke up at 3:30 twice. Good, very nice. Okay, now, so there is this one interesting question. So I will talk about Shankar also. So what is Shankar? Shankar is the symbolic representation of our tapasvi stage. So we children are now doing tapasya, and we are becoming yogis and tapasvis. And when we become tapasvis and yogis, our Kalyugi sanskars finish. So Kalyug finishes when Kalyugi sanskars are won over. And how do you win over Kalyugi sanskars? By sitting in your tapasvi form. Now that is represented by Shankar, and you take note of whatever Shankar is represented with. So half closed eyes, that refers to the meditative state. Okay. Then there is this sher ki chal. So you are sitting on that sher ki chal. So there is this lion's skin on which Shankar sits, and then there is very little clothes on his body. So they all stand for Prakriti Jeet. So the one who wins over matter and adopts simplicity. So that is the representation of Sher ki chal is winning over Prakriti, and then less clothes is for simplicity. And then there are other symbols like these three lines on Shankar's forehead. So those lines stand for Trinetri, Trikaldarshi, and Trilokinath. So you have your third eye open, you are Trinetri. So you don't just see with these two eyes, but you also see with the eye of awareness that Baba has given you, the third eye. Then there is Trikaldarshi. So you can see all the three aspects of time now. You know that whatever is coming up before you right now is because of what you did in the past, or it's because of your sanskars created through past action. So you can see that there is a past linkage to the present. And then you are also aware that how you respond in this moment is creating your future. So whenever you are in the present moment, you are aware of all the three aspects of time: the past, present, and future. So that is Trikaldarshi. And then there is Trilokinath. So Trilokinath means you are aware of the three worlds. So the three worlds are, one is the soul world, second is this corporeal world, and there is another subtle world which I will tell you about. So these are the three worlds that you are always aware of when you are participating on this stage. So you know that you are here, but you are an actor and you belong to the soul world. So these are the various symbols in Shankar's pictures. There are many symbols, but I will talk about them off and on as time permits, because that's a whole chapter in itself. Okay. All right. So there is this question: God gives us knowledge, God gives us power to do good karma. The first point I understood, that He gives us true knowledge. But how exactly He gives us power? Apart from giving knowledge, which currently you are giving to us, what is His role in my life? Because ultimately it is my effort on my consciousness to empower myself. So, you see, when you read a book, the book tells you what to do, but you have to do it yourself, right? So when somebody gives love, you have to accept love. When you get a thing, you have to create happiness within yourself. So these days, you see, because the souls have got numb and depleted, so even if you get a lot, you can't create that happiness or that joy, because you are not creating it yourself. So anything you experience cannot be given by anybody, it has to be your karma always. Now, how does God give power? So, first thing, He gives us the knowledge of powers. So we didn't know that. So I have not yet shared the knowledge of powers with you. So Baba gives us the knowledge of powers. First thing, he tells us that the seven qualities also work as powers. So peace is a power, purity is a power, happiness is a power, love is a power. So he gives us these powers by giving us the knowledge. Then there are other powers, the eight powers, which we will talk about then. Second thing is, how does he give us power? So he is the embodiment of those powers. He is the embodiment of knowledge, embodiment of purity, embodiment of peace, embodiment of tolerance, embodiment of the power to face. So, when He is the embodiment and you go to Him in meditation and sit in front of Him, you draw from Him that power by being in the company of the embodiment of that power. So, just like if you meet a person who is very disciplined, so you take that virtue of discipline from him by virtue of his company. So, there is a method of taking virtues and powers. So, you take virtues and powers by keeping company with somebody. So it is the color of company which gives virtues and powers. So similarly, when you go to God in meditation and you sit before the one who is just the ocean of peace and purity, then in sitting with him and in knowing that you are made in his image, you start imbibing those qualities within yourself. So you take power from God in meditation. And how do you do that? By sitting before Him in the consciousness that I am His child and He is the ocean of peace, and start looking at yourself as His image, His reflection, and experiencing and imbibing that virtue in yourself. So that is how He gives you power. Okay. Yesterday, you showed one video. In which age are we now? We are in the confluence age. I will tell you about that. I mean, in Kali Yuga or in Iron Age, Kali Yuga and Iron Age are the same, okay? And in between Kali Yuga and Satyuga, there is the confluence age. This Baba is teaching us the way to move from Kali Yuga to Satyuga. So we will understand other things in detail. So today you understood how God is establishing heaven and destroying hell by shifting our consciousness to that of heaven and shifting our consciousness to the fact that I am a heavenly deity in my original form. Okay, tomorrow we will understand more. Om Shanti. Let's meditate. Sit still and know that you are a soul. A soul that belongs to the soul world, the sweet home of light in the beyond. Take your mind to your home and to God. In that world of light, I, the soul, sit in my point form before Baba, the supreme point of light. Just look at Baba. Baba is so still, so silent, and so peaceful. Baba is like this still point of peace, the ocean of peace, constantly radiating waves of peace. As I sit before Him as a sweet child, I am reminded of my peaceful nature. I am made in His image. He is the ocean of peace. I am the point of peace. He is still. I too am still. He is absolutely silent. I am silent too. He is radiating waves of sweet peace. I too am doing the same. I am His child. Feels like we are combined with each other in this moment. I and He in the same vibration. Just relish this moment for a few seconds.